Me? Okay. The board has already met in executive session, and we did the salute to the flag in there. So at this point, we're going to have a roll call, please.
Mr. Byrne?
Here.
Ms. Schaefer?
Here.
Mrs. Gray?
Here.
Mr. Salmon?
Here.
Mrs. White?
Here.
Mrs. Richmond?
Here.
Mrs. Korn?
Here.
Mr. McCrarian?
Here.
Mr. Syatt?
Here.
Mrs. McCune?
Here.
Madam President?
Thank you. I'd just like to draw your attention to the statement of public notice in your agenda. The meeting was advertised in accordance with the law. We always welcome public input. There's 2 times during the meeting when the public is invited to speak. The first time is earlier in the meeting before the board votes, when you can speak about any item that's on the agenda. And then towards the end of the meeting, there's another public forum to address any other topics or questions that you may have. When you do come up to the microphone, please tell us your name and address, and then sign in on the clipboard afterwards. And I just wanted to point out that the meeting is being recorded. So at this point, we're up to our student representative, Maddie.
Hello. So these past 2 weeks since we last met, we had senior prom, which was really fun. We had a huge turnout. Pretty much the whole grade came. And it was an awesome memory and moment for the class of 2019. And boys lacrosse finished up their season. They were in the Group 4 sectional semifinals last week, and they lost. But they made it super far in their season, and they had a record of 14-2, which is amazing. And the girls had a record of 14-5. And today, actually, the student government we went to William Manning, and we went to Liberty Corner. And it was just the 4 of us, and we spoke with their student governments. And it was like one of my favorite things that we've done this entire year, because the kids were so excited, and they had like so much energy, and you could just tell that they're gonna like come to high school and kick butt on student government and come in here and boss you guys around, and it was awesome. So that was like super exciting to see the future leaders, and yeah. That's pretty much all that's happening. We haven't been in school for like a week.
Does anyone have any questions for Maddie? Yeah, we really enjoyed meeting with the kids at the other schools
They're
too.
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, they said, Wham said that they told you guys about like broken clocks or something, and they're like, they had it fixed like the next day. They spoke really highly of you guys.
Well, luckily that was like an easy fix item, not like some of the items some of the little kids were like, well, can we have like, a pool outside, a water park. Yeah, it was fun.
So since I see Mrs. Hudak in the audience, we probably ought to correct the record. I think the clocks are only about 2/3 fixed.
Yeah, they were in the sectionals. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get them.
Okay, well, thank you.
Sure.
The board is going to go down below because we have a bunch of different presentations. So we're going to move.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Nick Markarian. I'm the superintendent here. Tonight is one of our more enjoyable evening meetings when we get the opportunity to celebrate some of our staff, and we have lots of family and friends joining us, so I appreciate all of your coming to help us celebrate. We're actually going to do 2 groups of folks tonight. We have our 2019 Teachers of the Year to recognize tonight, and also the retirees that were able to join us this evening. We're going to spend some time talking about them as well. So it's an exciting night, and I welcome all of our family and friends that are here and our staff members that came out in support of one another. It's really a fun time, so thank you again for being here. We're going to start with our Teachers of the Year, And here to speak on behalf of Cedar Hill School is Mr. Zimpola.
I know that that's your least favorite thing to do, but you're going. We have Kathleen and her fan club here. So. Absolutely. Kathleen Heitman is an outstanding educator and member of the Cedar Hill School community. She grew up in Bernards Township and attended the school system for which she now proudly works. After graduating from Stevens Institute of Technology, Kathleen began her professional career working for a Big 8 accounting firm. Teaching was always in her plan, so she returned to school, attending Seton Hall for a master's degree in education. Mrs. Heitman has taught a number of positions at Cedar Hill School, including 4th grade for 4 years, instructional support for a year and a half, and most recently, 2nd grade for the past 9 years. Kathleen demonstrates so much love in all she does for her students. She embodies the definition of what a teacher should be. She is not only a brilliant teacher, but she is kind, compassionate, stern when needed, responsive, and most of all, always goes the extra mile for each student, regardless of the time and the effort it takes to make sure that that child excels on an educational and social level. Educating our children is not her only strength. She is psychologically sophisticated in a way that helps parents better understand how our kids interact with other kids and how parents can help them. Kathleen is very inspired by the Cedar Hill faculty to keep the bar high and grow as a teacher. Her philosophy is simple: family first, my own and my classroom families. She responds quickly to any communication in order to build trust and keep progress going. From the first day of school, Kathleen explains to her students that they are a classroom family and will take care of each other in that way. Mrs. Heitman keeps academic expectations very high, but she combines this with fun and a lot of energy. Kathleen believes that she is able to draw the very best efforts out of her students. She exposes them to a lot of challenges and helps them to be a little more fearless when approaching new territory. They become very confident and learn to believe in themselves. Kathleen celebrates each student sincerely. She takes good care of their hearts as much as their academic skills. Her class mantra is grit, grace, and gratitude, and we celebrate it when we see it. Congratulations, Kathleen.
Okay, so one of the things I didn't mention before, as part of the board's support of our teacher appreciation, when the Teachers of the Year are awarded their recognition, they get one of these signs, which is actually just a piece of metal. But the important thing is that it designates a parking space. That's what if our Teachers of the Year could just remember before they leave this evening, we'll do a little pause probably after our time with celebration here with the Teachers of the Year and the retirees to take a couple pictures. and then make sure that you take your parking sign just for a picture only. Leave the sign with me, and that way I'll make sure it gets installed properly. They have kind of sharp edges. You don't want to handle them anyway. So, see that, Rod? Where's Rod? We're working on that workers' comp. All right, so the other thing that we do as part of the Teacher Appreciation Project is the Teachers of the Year also get a extra personal day, which is always nice. They get to use an extra personal day at some point, and that comes in nicely. So next up, we have Liberty Corner School, and Dr. Oliver is going to present. Thank you.
Okay, well, this year, Liberty Corner's Teacher of the Year is Beth Balico. Why don't you come on down, Beth? Beth has been teaching for 10 years within the Bernards Township. Prior to joining Bernards' teaching staff, Beth was a pre-kindergarten teacher for 7 years. Choosing Beth as Liberty Corner's Teacher of the Year was an easy choice. Where you at? One colleague stated, Beth is an ideal educational professional. She is always excited and willing to collaborate and try something new. When asked why Beth likes being a teacher, her response included, I guess what I love about teaching kindergarten is the fact that I feel like I am first their mother and second their teacher. There are a lot of life lessons taught every day among the daily curriculum lessons in my classroom. They learn from me, and I also learn very much from them. I believe children should be active learners and creative thinkers, to learn to work hard, make good choices, and be kind. I believe in nurturing and developing children's social and emotional development. Children learn best when they feel respected and valued, and all children have a desire to be included and feel as though they matter. I try to bring love, laughter, passion, and meaningful project work into my kindergarten classroom every day. I also look for ways to personalize learning and engage children's imagination and hands-on learning. Kindergarten is about joy and creating happy school memories. I want children to love coming to school as much as I do each day. Congratulations, Beth.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Oliver. Next up, we have Joanne Hosney from Mount Prospect.
Good evening. I am so excited to talk about Miss Maggie Rossi. Mrs. Rossi has been a teacher. Yes, round of applause. Mrs. Rossi has been a teacher and a behaviorist in Bernards Township for 9 years, spending 6 of those years at Mount Prospect School as a teacher of students with autism. She is an advocate for her students and all students with disabilities. Mrs. Rossi is well respected by her colleagues and parents alike. Throughout her tenure here at Mount Prospect, she has shown to be a leader, an excellent teacher, and a tremendous resource to all teachers in both the special education and general education classrooms. Mrs. Rossi acts as the voice of her department on our leadership committee. She conducts trainings on effective behavioral interventions for parents and teachers alike. Mrs. Rossi's professional knowledge has been an asset to school-based committees such as the Child Study Team and the INRS teams. She is quick to offer her time to observe a student in need and offers helpful suggestions for immediate implementation in the classroom. Mrs. Rossi also goes above and beyond, especially in times of crisis. Reliable and dependable are 2 words that are synonymous with Mrs. Rossi's name. Because she is a leader in our school in so many ways, we consider her the glue of her team and of our school. Her valuable insights on the staff advisory leadership team are always sought after. We are so fortunate she calls Mount Prospect her home. In her own words, Mrs. Rossi states, "It is my belief that by implementing evidence-based practices, we can provide learners with an individualized education based on the principles of applied behavior analysis and learning theory. We must strive to improve socially significant behaviors, by closing the disparity between effective educational research and practice. We must support vulnerable learners by promoting independence to help them reach their full potential. Every child has the fundamental right to a quality education, and we must seek to understand why behavior occurs to produce a meaningful outcome to improve an individual's quality of life. And what all those words boil down to is an amazing individual that whether I call her on the walkie-talkie, on the phone, or whenever I see her in the hallway, Maggie, help, she comes running, and she is probably one of the most adored assets in Mount Prospect School. Congratulations.
Thank you, Ms. Hosany. Okay, next up, we have Dr. Costa for Oak Street.
Good evening. It is with great pleasure that I introduce the Oak Street School Teacher of the Year, Mrs. Jessica DeRose. Jessica is richly deserving of this honor. Jessica has been teaching kindergarten at Oak Street School for over 16 years. Henry Adams had Jessica in mind when he wrote, "A teacher affects eternity. She can never tell where her influence stops." Jessica's love of teaching began in high school and continued in college as a preschool teacher. As one of her colleagues stated, Jessica truly has a gift. When they say someone has a calling to be a teacher, especially a kindergarten teacher, Jessica comes to mind. Jessica is an outstanding educator whose influence has continually been felt by students, staff, and parents. She strives for excellence for herself and her students by maintaining high professional and educational standards. Jessica possesses a unique gift in her ability to reach out and connect with every student in her classroom. Jessica always has a smile on her face and is exceptionally kind and caring. She fosters a love of learning, and students flourish in her care. Jessica has stated that, "My greatest joy as a teacher is knowing that each student that passed through my door was cared for, felt valued, and found a love of learning that they will take with them forever." Jessica is an integral member of the Oak Street School family. Her colleagues speak very highly of her as an educator and a friend. They marvel at her creativity and ability to bring those ideas to help brighten her classroom and all our staff celebrations. Jessica is a mother to 3 beautiful children and is a very involved parent. She volunteers in her children's theater program at their school and has taken a lead role in helping with the play, making costumes, and adding her special decorating touch. Jessica, thank you for enriching the lives of so many students who have entered your classroom.
So just a quick reminder, too, to all of our Teachers of the Year, don't forget the breakfast that is planned for tomorrow. The county office, Somerset County office, started working last year to bring a Teacher of the Year appreciation breakfast into play. So it's a little celebration at RVCC tomorrow, so don't forget to come. Next up, William Adam Middle School and Principal Karen Hudak.
Ms. Jennifer Chamorro, please join us as William Adams Teacher of the Year. So Ms. Jennifer Chamorro has been teaching English and Language Arts at William Adams Middle School for 18 years. During those 18 years, she has taught both 6th and 8th grade English and Language Arts, spending the past 17 years with our marvelous 8th grade students. In addition to her teaching assignment, Ms. Chamorro has been involved with numerous school-wide activities and events. She's assisted with the WAM's musical productions, coached WAMS AO and Ridge Volleyball, served as a team leader for many, many years, organized the annual 8th grade trip to Washington, D.C., which should get its own award separate from this. Helped organize various other character education building days in her grade level, and each year she creates, of her own time, the celebratory slideshow that all of our 8th graders get to see on the last day of school, as well as the parents enjoy at graduation. To say that Ms. Chamorro is dedicated to the WAMS community is an understatement. When I sit back and reflect on my time observing formally or informally Jen, there are so many stories that I can share that represent her dedication inside and outside of the classroom. There is one story that resonates with me from numerous years ago, where she had approached me about a student that had to do a presentation in her language arts class. She may not remember this, but I do. She had shared with me that this student was asked to speak in front of his or her peers regarding a topic of their choice. I assumed that she was going to invite me in to see the skits or the other students speak. However, that's not what she was asking me to do. She indicated that she wanted me to be this student's audience instead of the peers. She explained to me that she was working with the student on finding their voice, and that their voice was an amazing one, but that their voice was not ready to be publicly shared with their peers. However, this student did confide in Ms. Chamorro that she had a much more comfort level speaking to adults, which is why Ms. Chamorro approached me. She knew that she had to meet this child at their readiness level and provide them an opportunity to be heard. Why this invitation may be forgettable for many, it represented to me an educator who puts students' needs first, which symbolizes her dedication to the whole child. Whether it's her dedication to the students, meeting their needs in her classroom, her desire to train Toto, a real-life dog, for one of our productions, her ability to solve Washington, D.C. inclemental weather issues on a whim, or bus issues at the last minute, or her countless hours of volunteering time outside of her classroom to benefit the WAMS school community, Ms. Chamorro's gentle manner, swift and calm approach in handling a crisis, and her genuine love for teaching all make her the perfect candidate for the Teacher of the Year. Ms. Chamorro was nominated and finally chosen by her colleagues for this remarkable distinction that many of you here are also receiving tonight. One of her colleagues described her by saying, "In a world where kids are constantly being pushed down, she is there to pull them up." Another colleague states, "Jen's positivity is infectious." Ms. Chamorro is compassionate, optimistic, and is a role model for her students and colleagues alike. She makes those around her always feel appreciated. I would add administrators as well into that little tagline. It should be no surprise that Ms. Chamorro's philosophy of teaching middle school is anchored in her idea to never stop thinking about what her students are thinking, and to provide a positive and nurturing environment for all of them to learn and grow. She understands that each student will arrive on her door with their own skill set and life story, which she celebrates. She seeks to provide meaningful and sensible instruction for them at every level of the learning continuum. She aims to offer ample opportunities for everyone in her classroom to practice their skills in order to progress at their rate, as illustrated in my earlier story. Her classroom is fun and colorful and friendly. It's inviting, and it's a community where student inquiry is encouraged in order to drive practice in reading, writing, thinking, listening, viewing, and of course, speaking instruction. While Ms. Chamorro will be the first to admit the profound impact that she believes her students have had on her, her modesty does not allow her to see the profound impact that she has had on her colleagues, the WAMS school community, the administrative team, and most importantly, her students. It is with great pleasure and honor that we celebrate Ms. Jennifer Chamorro as WAM's Teacher of the Year.
Thank you, Mrs. Hudak. And last but not least, Mr. Kraus for Ridge.
Good evening. I'd like to invite Mr. John Brum down as our Teacher of the Year. Mr. John Brum is a science teacher who has devoted the last 13 years to exemplary teaching at Ridge High School. He is the consummate professional and has been described by his peers as a person who makes a positive impact on the Ridge High School community. He holds a bachelor's degree in biology education, a master's degree in environmental science, a master's degree in human resource management, and also holds a certificate in instructional design. Among other courses, Mr. Brum has taught biology and environmental science at Ridge High School. Mr. Brum states that the past 13 years at Ridge have been the most personally and professionally rewarding years he has had in his professional career. He has served as a mentor teacher for new faculty members. The Ridge ski team has coached championship and has helped implement a STEM program at Ridge. He's a valued member of the medical emergency response team, and he supports students by attending school events and activities, including sporting events and school theatrical and musical productions. He has also attended the AP Summer Institute to enhance his knowledge and sharpen his skills to teach AP Environmental Science. This led to his increasing the lab component of AP Environmental Science after he assumed key responsibility for the teaching of that course. Not one to rest on his laurels, Mr. Brum took the initiative to research, design, create, and implement a new Ridge Senior Internship Program as a pilot for this school year, 2018-2019. It is these types of actions that exemplify Mr. Brum's true commitment to his students and to Ridge High School. Mr. Brum states that he is constantly thinking about how to deliver instruction in a manner that taps into the core learning triggers of his students. He strives to determine how best to engage his students, and he is continuously adjusting his instruction through the use of a seemingly endless array of instructional strategies. Mr. Brum makes learning interactive by using a project-based approach that allows him to work with students individually or in groups to enhance learning tailored to each individual student. Most importantly, however, Mr. Brum has been described by his colleagues as someone who, quote, makes a significant effort to connect with each of his students in a meaningful way, end quote. It is this last characteristic that highlights the passion that Mr. Brum has for helping students as a caring educator. Truly, and most importantly, Mr. Brum is a genuinely nice person. He treats everyone with respect, is always upbeat, and is always willing to help others. One of his colleagues put it best by saying, "To know John Brum is to love John Brum." And I believe no truer words can be spoken. Mr. Brum, I'd like to thank you for all that you do for our students in our school and congratulate you on this well-deserved honor as our Teacher of the Year. Mr. John Brum.
Okay, so with all these folks here and all these teachers here, I thought I would just sneak in a plug and make sure that everybody knows that the board and the Berners Township Education Association reached a tentative agreement for a new 3-year contract. Now, that fact is probably slightly less important to this next group of people that we'd like to recognize. as they say, goodbye tension and hello pension, right? So first up, we have Dr. Oliver. He's going to speak on behalf of Marianne Schuster.
Congratulations. Okay, tonight we honor Marianne Schuster's 10 years of working at Liberty Corner School as a lunch aide. But at Liberty Corner, we call them lunch leaders. When I think about Marianne's career at Liberty Corner, what comes to my mind is her friendly smile, how she always was there for the right reasons, which is the children, and also her dependability. When thinking about what I wanted to write for tonight's speech, I thought that it would be nice to hear from some of our fifth graders to get their perspectives of the role of a lunch leader. I asked our Kids for Character Committee to share what they feel are the most important attributes of a lunch leader. So they shared with me, a lunch leader needs to be someone who cares about the children and likes to work with children. Someone who is responsible, reliable, and patient because there's a lot of kids to work with. They also shared that the job of a lunch leader must be done by someone who is a role model and knows how to mediate a conflict which might happen on the playground, just might. A lunch leader should know the school rules and also be able to explain them to the children. So Marianne, our LCS community thanks you for fulfilling all these job responsibilities and for your dedication to our children. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Okay, so just to make sure we keep everyone here, the retirees that were joining us this evening, please don't go away until the board president is able to present your gift. So stick around, we'll have a little break in between here for that. So next up, and there were several retirees that were not able to be here tonight, but I believe Susan Lieb is. I heard she might not be coming. Susan's here, okay. So Susan Lieb, come on up. Joanne is going to speak on your behalf.
So, behalf on myself and Mr. Pepitone and Ms. O'Connell, we have the very distinct pleasure of congratulating Mrs. Susan Lieb on her retirement. She officially retired in January, and you decided to come back. Good for you. Thank you. Mrs. Lieb began her career at Berners Township in 1999 as a speech and language specialist. Mrs. Lieb came to our district with a plethora of experience from Keene College, Bernardsville, Morristown Hospital, Rutgers University, the Douglas Developmental Disability Center, and the Morris Union Juncture. For over 20 years, Susan worked with students in a small group setting or one-to-one. She worked carefully with staff and other building administration to implement programs for specific students. Her professionalism and proactive approach to her duties were greatly appreciated. Mrs. Lieb was always dependable to be at her spot. That's that morning duty that no one really seems to show up, but every morning Mrs. Lieb was there on the stairs greeting the students. She was always a resource, and she especially loved vocabulary instruction, Mrs. Hudak. I know that's your focus next year. No matter what she did, she approached it with a positive attitude and always a smile. Mrs. Lieb always went above and beyond the expectations for the curriculum. A consummate problem solver, she always offered counsel to her colleagues. Mrs. Lieb was ahead of her time and often thought of research projects just for the fun of it. I mean, she tracked performance long before there was ever a performance tracker. Her strong background in discrete trial therapy and group language therapy made her a resource to students with a variety of needs. Her patience and nurturing spirit always would shine through. Mrs. Lieb, over the years, has attended numerous school-wide or PTO events, whether it was family pizza night, international night, or even one of our many concerts. Mrs. Lieb was a familiar fixture. Students in all grade levels knew her by name. Often she came in early or stayed after hours to share ideas with fellow teachers, create her lesson plans, or to do committee work for the school. Mrs. Lieb could always be counted on to ensure the success of her students, to prepare materials, review student work, or to offer additional help. She was always on the go. She runs nonstop from the time she arrived to the time she left, often working through her own lunch and prep. She is a role model for everyone she encounters. Her colleagues have said the following about her. Awesome, she has a great rapport with students, parents, and staff. She comes to school events and has a beautiful warmth about her. She's hardworking and a dynamic member of our staff. Her enthusiasm, love, and passion for her students is contagious. Susan does not work or serve for awards or accolades, but simply to inspire and impact for all those who come in contact with her each day. Susan is one of the smartest people I know. I will always remember her ability to have a story for absolutely anything, especially about her golf game, about her daughter's pursuits, or her connections to the international community. Above all, it is Susan's passion and perseverance that I have missed the most. Mrs. Lee, we have missed you tremendously over these past few months. I know you are enjoying retirement, and we continue to wish you your best in your future years. Congratulations.
Okay, next up, Dr. Costa is going to come on back up and speak on behalf of Lynn Baruco.
It is my pleasure to speak on behalf of the Oak Street School community as we wish Mrs. Lynn Baruco a well-deserved retirement. I want to thank Lynn for her service to the students at Oak Street School for over 16 years. Lynn has worn many hats at Oak Street. She began working at Oak Street in 2001 as a lunchroom aide. She moved on to be a kindergarten aide as well as an instructional aide. She has spent the last 6 years again as a lunch aide. Lynn is also a certified nurse and has been a substitute nurse on many of our field trips. Lynn is a caring and deeply committed individual. She treats all the students as if they were her own. Several years ago, she responded to a child who was choking in the cafeteria. Without hesitation, she began applying the Heimlich maneuver to the student. Her quick action saved the child from serious harm. Lynn, I want to leave you with a great piece of advice from Fred Rogers, from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. He said, often when we think we're at the end of something, you're at the beginning of something else. So keep that in mind, that retirement is a new beginning. I want to wish you a very happy and productive retirement and enjoy time with your family and friends. So stay young at heart and enjoy retirement living. You deserve all the best, and you will be missed at Oak Street School.
Okay. So I just would like to note, before we get to our last retiree, just for those of you that don't have the benefit of an agenda in front of you, I'd like to note the following folks were not able to be here. Noreen Quinn-Foy from Liberty Corner, Kathleen Sojlin from Mount Prospect School, Mike Levy from William Annan, Graciela Caldero from Ridge, Fran Calvaruso from Ridge, and Kathy Nadal-Willis from Ridge. None of those folks are here, right? Okay, we tried real hard to make sure we got folks here that could be here. But we do have one other person I know is here because I saw her sitting here, and that is Tara Bowman. So come on down, Tara. Come here, Mr. Simpola. You're not off the hook. Come on up here. Story time with Miss Bowman. So, no, I just thought that you had to be here. Okay, that's better. So make yourselves comfortable. How much time do we have? No, just kidding. So we're on Oprah tonight. So Miss Bowman, I have to sit in talking about Miss Bowman. Miss Bowman has just been great for the families of Berners Township School District and for all of the kids and all of the staff and all of the administrators. Ms. Bowman has served largely in the capacity of a mathematics teacher at William Annan Middle School, where she worked with the students for 25 years before, as we say, moving over to the dark side. And she has been a light, if you will, on not just all of her time in working with students and teaching them largely algebra, which, as we know, is a gateway math course, which you just can't seem to get away from. As my daughter was preparing for her college math placement test, guess what we were working on this weekend? Algebra. Just can't get away from algebra, which is great for me because I was a math teacher too. But I just wanted to share with you a little bit, and I'll try to be brief because I told all the other administrators, keep it to 3 to 5 minutes here tonight, Did I break that rule already? So when Tara became an administrator, it should be noted that her sphere of influence changed, and instead of being directly in the classroom, she was orchestrating, as administrators are wont to do. And what was great about Tara was that she was always a team player, and I think that anyone that's ever worked with Tara knows that that was one of her greatest attributes, was that she was always a team player, and she always took on anything she was asked to do with not only grace, but also a willingness to be a problem solver, a willingness to help, and always with the students' needs in mind first, even when no was putting their needs first. Because sometimes putting children's needs first means that you say no to some things that they might otherwise want to do. And Tara was always very good about looking out for the kids, whether it was a yes or whether it was a no, and working with kids and families to help them understand the difference and the reasons behind each of those decisions. So as an administrator, she did that more and served in several capacities, jumping in when it was needed for different administrators that were on different types of leaves. I believe one of those included a stint as the world languages supervisor, right? And I think maybe more than once. He took a turn doing that. And she's filled in, I believe, for assistant principal at the high school. Tough job, as we all know. And as she retires, she's retiring as our supervisor of mathematics, right in her wheelhouse. And she's going to be sorely missed. We're happy with the person coming in for Tara, but you can't fill Tara's shoes. It's just been a delight to have Tara as both a colleague, a teacher, a friend, an administrator, and I think that just about everybody that knows her can appreciate that. Now, with the hopes of trying not to speak too long, I will share with you just a little bit that I did print out the speech that I had done for your retirement dinner. And, Tara's smart. She's a planner. She's like, I'm not having a party when no one can come to the party. So she planned her retirement party. Well, Paul over here. Paul and Tara go way back. So Paul planned her retirement party with lots of input, lots of help. It was great. It was a really wonderful event at the Primavera, I think. And the speeches were awesome, although I did want to relay that I didn't know that when I was invited to come to speak that I was really there to be the butt of all the jokes. And Paul had told me that the roasts were going to be about Tara, but in fact it was a Nick roast for the most part. But we all had a great time, and I can't regale all the stories, but suffice it to say that it was just a really special opportunity to hear from so many different people who Tara have influenced. And I think about education as a really special job where your legacy really endures. And your legacy endures not only with the adults that you interact with on a professional basis during your career, but it's one of those few careers that literally over the course of 30 years, you're influencing thousands and thousands of people. And to know that that influence was positive for so many students, I think is special and something to always take to heart as you retire, and something to keep in mind every day as you're employed as a teacher, that it's a special job that you get to have that kind of influence. I think just about all of us that have entered this line of work, often we did so because of someone that was in our lives as a teacher when we were a student. So it's really a compelling career, and I always think it's the most important job in the world. So congratulations to you, Tara, somebody that did it oh so very well. You will be sorely missed, and before we applaud your retirement, Paul, you want to add anything? You're welcome to.
I could go on all night about that. So for those of you who did not attend that party, we did a roast. It actually was not for Nick. Although, yes, he did suffer a little bit through that. But Tara said she wanted it to be a fun evening, and so one quick Tara story that was from that night. I'll keep it clean. She's the right one. She's the right one. So and the thing about this is Tara's the one who can get away with it. But she gets away with it in a very loving way. All her students know she loves them. So one of the ones we did that evening, we turned it into a Hollywood celebration because Tara loves Hollywood. And so we had film clips that we had recreated the best moments. And the one was a student she had, and student's name was Chris. Was Chris. Oh, no, I'm sorry. His name was Chris, and the entire year she's calling him David. So, March comes around, and she's calling the student up. Chris, come on up here, come on. And one of the other kids chuckles, said, Miss Bowman, his name is Chris. She's been calling him David the whole year. Yeah. David, get up here. David, get up here. She's been calling him Chris the entire year. So his name is Chris Davidson. But she said, so at that point you'd think it's going to be, well, Chris. Okay. But she said, oh, well, that's it. Forget it. It's David for the rest of the years. But anyway, that's but her kids, no matter what, her students knows that she loves it. And I think the other thing about Tara is that even serving as an administrator, she brings the best of being a teacher to her job at all times. And I think that's one of the things that we're all going to miss about her, is that she's a straight shooter. She makes things fun. That's what I'm going to miss, is that I know, her being nearby all the time, that I always, if I need to laugh, I can just call Tara. I can just look at Tara and laugh. So you are going to be sorely missed.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. And honestly, I have been truly, truly blessed to be in a profession where I honestly enjoyed coming to work every day. Maybe not the last 5 years, but
But for the first 25 years, being in the classroom with 8th grade students who are the most amazing people walking this planet. I know most of the parents of 8th graders may not believe that, but in the classroom, it was truly the joy of my life. And then Marion and Karen Hudak and a couple of other administrators slowly talked me into very slowly one step out of the classroom and one step into instructional coaching, which then brought me into so many other classrooms, into the other buildings. And I always believed in my heart that WAMS had the best teachers. Now they do, but OMG, this district has amazing teachers, building for building for building. And that truly was one of the joys in the other roles that I've had, is just getting to know, I mean, from kindergarten, pre-K, all the way up to the 12th grade classes, across the gamut. This is a great place for kids, and it's a great place for teachers. And I do have to say that there is somebody sitting in this audience who sat in my classroom my second year teaching, Jamie Morrow, who's now a parent. Aw, I love you. Look at that, I mean, okay, I have to stop now, otherwise I'm gonna cry. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right. So this has been great. Thank you all for coming this evening. Usually we take a little break after doing this type of recognition before we start the rest of our meeting. So we're going to do that, but I would just ask that if you were one of our Teachers of the Year, please stick around for a couple minutes while we transition so we could get a picture with you and your parking sign. And our retirees that were here this evening, the board does have a gift for you that our board president wants to give you before you leave. So if you could stop down and see Mrs. McKeon, she has your gift. And for those retirees that couldn't be here, we'll get their gift to them another way. So thank you all so much for attending tonight. If you'd like to stay for the rest of our meeting, of course, you're welcome to. But we'll do a little transition here and grab a couple pictures. So thanks again, everybody.
Okay, now we're back to the boring part of the meeting. Okay, so we're now up to superintendent's report. There's 3 items. Would someone like to make a motion? Mrs. White and Mrs. Gray seconded. Did anyone have any comments or questions about these 3 items? Did you want to say? Okay, could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Byrne?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Salmon?
Yes.
Mrs. White?
Yes.
Mrs. Richmond?
Yes.
Mrs. Korn?
Yes.
Mrs. McCune?
Yes.
Madam President?
Thank you. We're up to public comment on agenda items. If you have a comment or question on something that's on the agenda, now is the time. Please tell us your name and address when you come up, and then sign in on the clipboard afterwards. Okay, if there's no one for public comment on agenda items, we'll close that and we'll move on to approval of minutes. There's one item. Would someone like to make a motion to move it? Mrs. Richmond and Mrs. Korn. Thank you. Did anyone have any questions or comments about the minutes? No? Okay, could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Byrne?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Salmon?
Yes.
Mrs. White?
Yes.
Mrs. Richmond?
Yes.
Mrs. Korn?
Yes.
Mrs. McCune?
Yes,
Madam President?
thank you. We're up to the Finance Committee. There's 4 items. Would someone like to make a motion? Mrs. White and Ms. Schaefer.
So there's, number 1 is disbursements, number 2 is professional development, number 3 is field trip destinations for next year, and...
This year.
This year, I'm sorry. And then, Rod, what's number 4, EDS?
That's what we just talked about. That's what we just talked about.
Oh, okay. Got it. And then finance is going to meet on Wednesday next week.
Does anyone have any questions? No? Can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Byrne,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mrs. Gray,
Yes.
Mr. Salmon. Yes. Mrs. White,
Yes.
Mrs. Richmond,
Yes.
Mrs. Korn,
Yes.
Mrs. McCune,
Yes.
Madam President.
Thank you. We're up to the Personnel Committee. There's 22 items. Would someone like to make a motion? Mr. Salmon, someone second, Mrs. Gray. Did anyone have any comments or questions on those items? Okay, could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Byrne,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mrs. Gray,
Yes.
Mr. Salmon. Yes. Mrs. White,
Yes.
Mrs. Richmond,
Yes.
Mrs. Korn,
Yes.
Mrs. McCune,
Yes.
Madam President.
Thank you. We're up to the Policy Committee. There's one item. Would someone like to make a motion? Mrs. Korn and Mr. Salmon seconded it. Did you have a policy report or no?
No,
Okay.
next time we're going to be on the policy.
Okay,
So,
Yeah, because that's when we're going to have the action.
yes.
okay. So we'll just have a roll call, please.
Mr. Byrne,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mrs. Gray,
Yes.
Mr. Salmon,
Yes.
Mrs. White,
Yes.
Mrs. Richmond,
Yes.
Mrs. Korn,
Yes.
Mrs. McCune,
Yes,
Madam President.
thank you. We're up to Curriculum Committee.
Curriculum Committee will be meeting this Friday.
Okay, and Advocacy, just met.
Advocacy just met today, so I'll report at the next meeting.
Okay, SEL.
I do have a report for
Okay.
SEL. This is way back from April, so it's been a long time. Many of these things are probably already passed, but I'll report out. We talked about Jamie Sutton, a counselor at William Annan, has been selected as a national ambassador to attend the American School Counseling Association National Conference this summer. She'll be attending with Mrs. Smith, and this is the first time someone from our district will attend and participate in workshops. She plans to share information and whatever she learns with the counseling department. The committee reviewed a few follow-up questions from the board from the presentation on April 1st at the Board of Education meeting. Some of the questions that were asked were about data and reporting of data. And the district started to track the counselors' interactions with students in the spring 15-16 school year for one semester. This was reported on the following school year in January of 2017. In February of 2018, the Director of School Counseling reported out on the 16-17 school year. Most recently during this year, Mrs. Smith reported out on the 17-18 school year. So we're kind of always reporting out on the previous year. Now that we've had a couple of years to compare, Mrs. Smith agreed to add a slide in next year's presentation to give us a comparison from year to year to see how we're doing. Let's see. Data that's shared with the board and the public must be shared at a high level, so that is to protect the identity of individual students. With this in mind, it may not always be possible to share data below a certain level of granularity. Counselors are charged with unpacking issues within our student populations, but it doesn't necessarily fit easily into the trends in mental health categories, so sometimes we're not able to capture all of the student issues and report them out. Approximately 100 students will participate in health focus groups going forward, basically consisting of 4 to 5 per grade level during lunch periods. The district is looking for feedback on how to make the health class experience better. Project Adventure, we talked about it a little bit. Ms. Clark and Mr. Howard are leading the revisions to the program. They were to meet with the peer leaders on May 21st, and I think they did that right. I think the peer leaders met with the freshmen to just sort of check in with them. And the hope is that going forward, there'll be a reconnection of freshmen with peer leaders once a marking period. Future discussions may include things like mental health, social dynamics, resources for help, et cetera, things like that. That's still in discussion. Let's see. We talked a little bit about communication about SEL efforts and how the students are receiving their information about SEL. Ms. Smith has reached out to the students who came to the board meeting to ask questions about certain SEL-related topics. One issue that has come to light that in today's world, people in general are not used to waiting or making an appointment. So when they're told that, in today's world of instant gratification, the perception that someone is not available to talk to them is not the actual reality. So if a counselor is currently busy but available at a different time, students think that their counselor is not available. So often it's the student's perception that she's never available, but they are available to make appointments at a later time. And so that is a message that they're working on getting out to students. There is hope that the new student information system, Genesis, may be able to make improvements in making counselor appointments, but we'll still wait and see what that looks like. We talked about the suicide prevention district program document. K-12 counseling department has been working on creating a comprehensive document for the district. It is approximately 14 pages, and the SACs and the counselors will be reviewing the document with the health curriculum teachers to make any adjustments if necessary. The counseling department as a whole is looking at the idea that if you're a child in Bernards Township, what does the suicide prevention and awareness program look like to you? This document links to all the Board of Ed policies and regulations related to suicide prevention. The document is broken down by elementary, middle school, and high school, as well as health-related topics by grade. It's a really informative and comprehensive document, so anyone who is interested should really look it up. It's really great. And they had the Debunking the College Myth program on May 15th. I wasn't able to attend it, so I can't really report back. I hope it was well attended. It was good. And our last meeting of the year is on the last day of school. So that's it. Does anyone? June 20th. Unless we get that change, I don't know.
Is that graduation?
It is graduation. I'll have to talk to Stephanie about that. I don't know. It might be a little busy, but we did cancel May, so I hope that we can find a time in June to do it, so. Anyone have any questions?
Thank you. I don't think we have any liaison reports. Okay. So now we're up to public comment on non-agenda items. If anyone has a comment or question, tell us your name and address when you come up to the microphone and sign in after you speak. Thank you. Are there any public comments down there? No? Okay. I'll close public comment. We're up to board forum. Do any board members have anything?
I probably would.
Okay.
I lost a brother-in-law about 2 weeks ago, and we were in the hospital quite a while. It's amazing how many kids and suicides are in the hospitals. I just want to comment that there's a lot going on out there, and it's a very serious problem. Because along with my brother-in-law, who was on a breathing machine, so he was really dead 3 or 4 days until they pulled the plug. But the kids, very serious. Amazing.
I don't really know if this
has been done before, but I see a face in the audience that I want to acknowledge just because we saw on our agenda tonight that she has decided to resign with Ridge, and that's Mary Ellen Peters, and she's a much loved and valued member of the Ridge office staff, main office staff. And so I just wanted to say congratulations and all the best to you while I see you here.
Does anyone else have anything for board forum? I just want to kind of echo what Mr. Markarian said before about being very happy that we have a tentative agreement with the BTEA. And I wanted to thank all the members or a number of people out there and up here who spent a lot of time and a very late night last week to get it done. So thank you to everyone. We can't talk about it, the details. People were asking about it right now because it's tentative. So as soon as it's not tentative anymore, I'm sure you'll get to hear more about it. Okay, anyone else?
I just want to follow that by saying thank you to the faces in the audience who were with us through all the negotiations meetings. Everybody came with a smile on their face and made it a really pleasant and productive process, so thanks.
I guess at this point we're up to adjournment. Would someone like to make a motion? Mr. Salmon and Mrs. Korn. Okay, all in favor?